Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 10th Jaipur Literature Festival here in Boulder, Colorado. I'll have to repeat this story. The first time I came to Boulder 11 years ago, I was picked up by Maruta from the Denver airport. I had no idea where Boulder was. And the road had been iced over, and a little prairie dog popped up. And I was saying to Maruta, don't hit the brake, but she did. And we sort of jackknifed on the highway. And it was all in very slow motion. Of course, we had our seat belts on. It was all in slow motion, and we sort of went all the way around, came to the edge of the road, and then righted ourselves. And we stopped, and I said, well, that's a sign. And maybe that's the reason why we have to do JLF Boulder, Colorado. And then when I arrived here, Jesse and Jules said, we have to take you to our mall. And I'm going, these Americans. And I rolled my eyes, but they did take me to the Pearl Street Mall, which is absolutely stunning and really one of the many things that's so attractive to this city, including, of course, the Flatirons. And we're absolutely delighted to be here. So it's been 10 years. I think I was calculating with Suraj and our colleagues, over 150,000 of you have come through our doors over 10 years. We've had over 800 speakers speak right here at the Boulder Public Library, which is, again, one of the great benefits that this city has across the Boulder Creek. The festival has cost about over $2.5 or $3 million that's come into Boulder during these 10 years. Teamwork Arts itself has invested about $1 million over 10 years because we haven't yet been able to break even year on year. But we do hope that in the coming years we're able to do that. And the only way we can do that really is with your support. We're very thankful to the city of Boulder, who initially was one of our big supporters, which is the reason we were here, and they continue to do that. So thank you, Mayor Aaron, for your continued support. The Boulder Public Library has been our wonderful partner, and I don't know, every time somebody says, why don't you look somewhere else? And I'm like, where else can you find such a beautiful building? And the colleagues at Boulder Public Library are very vested in the festival, and we just make a great partnership. But what we have to find is the money. Our chair of our board, Mohit, is here, I think after 10 years for the first time. And at every board meeting, I'm always asked, so, are you shutting down Boulder because it's losing money yet again? And I'm like, Boulder is so beautiful, and, dialogue is important, and we have to continue. I'm not sure how far that argument is going to go after a while, so do step up to the table and help us. Michael has joined us as our new executive director, and I hope over the next few years, we're able to break even here because it gets difficult. So why do we need festivals? Why do we need the arts? Why do we all gather? Josephine Quinn's book of How the World Made the West really sort of sums it up. Everything that we know about the West, democracy, the ideas of justice, the principles, all of these were actually assimilated ideas that traveled all the way from the East into Arabia, and from Arabia through Crete and the Levant into Europe, and of course out to America. It was this coming together of these amazing ideas and the creation in the 4th century Common Era of the House of Wisdom in Constantinople that became in many ways the center of learning and knowledge. Thousands of books were translated from mathematics and from literature and poetry and philosophy, and all of these then traveled in the way that ideas travel, that people travel, trade, as David said, travels. It's the traders who took these wonderful ideas and spread them across the world. And it's about, because of the spread of ideas, that we understand what it is to be human. We understand what it is to have empathy. We understand what it is to have knowledge. And as I've always said, if we have considered knowledge, and all our wonderful writers here, that's what they do. They don't necessarily write to entertain. And as somebody said to me in Houston, Sanjoy, much of what you're doing is you are representing the left, and you need to correct that, and you must also represent the right. And I'm like, okay, but do show me a book where the author starts by saying he's from the left or the right or the center of the far from wherever. An author writes because he or she or they wish to write. They have a story waiting to be told. They don't necessarily write from a left or a right or whatever perspective. They write about what they want to share with us. And that's important. Dialogue is vital. Because if we don't have dialogue, we're not going to be able to evolve as a society. We're not going to evolve as a people. And Boulder Public Library is absolutely vital in this. Some of the sessions that you're going to see here today are the sessions that we weren't able to host in New York or any of the other cities because they said, no, you can't do this dialogue here. But the Boulder Public Library was very happy for us to have these dialogues. They're vital in our understanding. And it's vital to provide knowledge which is considered to push back against ignorance. And by pushing back against ignorance, to some extent, we push back against hatred of the other. And by pushing back on the hatred of the other, perhaps we'll be able to contain the violence that we see all around us. It's not just the wars in Russia or Ukraine or Darfur or Afghanistan or Palestine in Israel. It's the violence that will consume us all. We are violent against the planet every day, every minute. It's our only home. We need to respect our planet, not just for ourselves, but for our next generations and the generations that will follow. The planet ain't going no place. It will continue as it has over millennia. The only people who will be written out of existence is us, willfully so, in the shortest period of time ever. So please, the responsibility is each one of us, not just the cities or the countries or the worlds, each one of us. We need to do our bit. So thank you so much for being here. We look forward to wonderful conversations over the next 2 days with our amazing writers. And to tell you a little bit about the program, please welcome co-director of the festival, Namita Gokhale.
Dear friends and lovers of literature, it's been a decade now since our first edition of JLF Boulder here in the library by the banks of the Whispering Creek here. We at Teamworks fell collectively in love, as the various people have told you, with the vibrant energy and the natural beauty of your city. And for me personally, there was something transformational about Boulder. It touched and changed something within me. I last came here in 2019, and then I got held up due to some personal, I won't say problems, but situations. I wasn't able to make it. And these circumstances kept me away, and I missed being in Boulder. And coming here is like a homecoming, I have to say. The Boulder Public Library, it was very illuminating to hear David talk about the women's movement and how the disenfranchised could push books and these public spaces and about sharing. And we are our shared stories and our evolutionary narratives, really. The JLF American International Festivals are a deep journey of discovery through the hyperlocal into the global and indeed planetary understanding and perspectives of our times. As the seasons change, our stimulating editions in New York, Houston, now Boulder at the moment, soon in Seattle and North Carolina chart explorations of our changing world in the uniquely spontaneous and democratic spirit of the immersive Jaipur Literature Festival. Something sparked off in that festival 18 years ago, and it's spread its seed here and there, and everywhere, in fact. America represents freedom. The vast and influential South Asian diaspora, as well as the varied communities and linguistic groups that help constitute the dynamic mosaic of the United States, all uphold the idea of freedom and the choices that it represents. Our panels, sessions, and readings include themes that are pertinent, relevant, and diverse, and that are open to constant creative interpretation and reinterpretation. It's thinking about things and thinking them through that makes us understand even the basics. Our speakers and sessions this year are a rich medley of ideas and inspirations. Celebrated writer and thinker and also a dear friend, Pico Iyer's opening session is a meditation upon finding peace in the midst of chaos. Bioarchaeologist and academic Kat German takes us to ancient rituals and burial sites, bringing the past vividly to life. The past wasn't all that long ago, even what she writes about. Chigozie Obiama tells us of his new novel, The Road to the Country, about the war in Biafra and the genocide, with the hindsight of somebody who has seen it happen in his country and his family. We have sessions on poetry, on conflict, on crime writing, on war, and on peace. Reza Aslan talks of the scars of conflict and how to address them for young minds. Jeff Goodall about life and death on a scorched planet. Ruby Lal talks about Princess Gulbadan, an exploration of gender, power, and loyalty. Padis Mahadevi and Ruchira Gupta share the narratives of girls and women in their search for freedom, bringing them stories to light in the session which is called Underground Women. Anne Waldman, the person who has inspired this festival in her, with her iconic poetry and her being who she is. Anne Waldman, the legendary poet activist, speaks of an outsider's poetry and resistance. Then there's Eye for Identity, which has explorations into self and narratives. The inspirational Izzeldin Abulesh speaks of his powerful and devastating memoir, We Shall Not Hate. An engaged panel discusses contemporary democracy in the session titled Ballots, Bullets, and Democracy. And there's more. Brian Ketlas and The Sea in the Middle, where he evaluates the Mediterranean worlds. Douglas Pennick on an ancient story cycle from India. And much, much, much more. I'm out of breath. Leave you to explore our extraordinary program and be spoiled for choice over this magical weekend. There are so many people who cast the spells to this magic. The speakers, the writers, the audience, the work of those unsung heroes behind the scenes who really put their hearts and heads and minds and passions into it around the year at Teamwork Arts. It leaves me wonderstruck to see it all unfold, like the seasons, January in Jaipur, September in Boulder. So now September in Boulder, but hope to see you, some of you, many of you, in Jaipur in January. Otherwise, listen in to us virtually. Thank you.
This is my Wallaroo hat, which Stephanie gave me in the morning, so I need to just sort of showcase it and make sure that you all get your hat too. For 10 years, Jessie Friedman has sort of led this particular journey, and we're very grateful for everything that she's done single-handedly. she's been able to keep the ship afloat. Jesse, a few years ago, said it's time for me to step down because we do need younger energy and more people to come on board. So finally, we were able to get Michael Carter, our new executive director of JLF, Boulder, Colorado. Michael, as many of you know, has been part of the corporate world, and we are absolutely delighted that he'll bring some of his expertise to us, and most importantly, get the money together. Michael Carter.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for those kind words. I appreciate that. I also, it's not lost on me, the references to the money that's needed to put on a festival of this. It is expensive. It does cost us about $400,000 a year to put this on. There are ways that we can mitigate that, of course. But before I get into the ways that we can mitigate that, I did want to just, if you indulge me for just a few minutes, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts to you. This festival is important. It's important because it provides us with a forum. If we've learned something from COVID, what we learned is we need connection. Humans need connection, and that human connection, that interaction is needed. Literature is like connective tissue. It joins us together in unique, intimate, and diverse ways. What is learned is hard to unlearn. JLF Colorado's mission is focused on the diversity of thought, the power of imagination, the simplicity of ideas, the spark of innovation, and the fever of inspiration. As you've heard from Namita, there are some powerful thematic elements that course through this conference, this festival. Self-determination, equity, empowerment, resolution of conflict, wherever that might be, thinking before we act. Tenets of JLF Colorado help direct our focus to those marginalized communities, those overlooked groups, and those underserved populations. For we must realize that underserved does not mean undeserved. This is a collaborational partnership between similarly thinking people with a mission and vision to bring together the most authentic topics, the most pressing issues, and to have world-class commenters discuss these in open, free, equitable environment, one that supports freedom of expression. These precepts are the foundation of all democracies. In a country where censure, banning of books, restriction of access to libraries, human rights restrictions, restriction of women's rights, the fact that we live in a society where these are tolerated even a moment proves that we have a lot of work to do here and that what we do here matters. Being here today, you've already taken the first step in supporting us, supporting our mission, supporting the most simple of antidotes, reading, writing, poetry. For with these instruments, we can communicate. With these instruments, we can see an unfamiliar perspective. And through that sharing, we develop thoughtful relationships and reduce the fear of the unknown, making this city, this state, this country better for all people. As I mentioned, it costs us a lot. We have amazing supporters. The Boulder Library Foundation. It would be remiss of me not to list off our supporters. City of Boulder. We have a number of grant-making organizations that make this possible. SCFD, the National Endowment for the Arts, Colorado Creative Industries, Boulder's very own Arts Commission, Colorado Fine Arts. These are organizations that recognize the importance and the power of this forum. We also have sponsors, both in kind and in dollars. The Boulder Bookstore, Bhakti Chai, and of course, as you've already seen, sported on Sanjoy, which looks a lot better than his Australian hat, Wallaroo Hat Company. Of course, our generous donors, and you, our wonderful attendees, with whom we would just be talking to ourselves. So please consider making even the smallest of donations, or go big by supporting some of our thematic content, some of our speakers. It costs a lot to get them here, or even sponsor one of our amazing venues. And with that, I thank you for your attention. And it's that way that we can ensure equitable access and do our part of keeping freedom of expression a priority for our community. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Thank you, Michael. And as I mentioned yesterday, that may you be on board for the next 10 years and take JLF Colorado to the new heights. Thank you so much. And I would also like to acknowledge our dear friend who's been part of the journey from the year one, Boli Midappa, who's right here and has formally joined the board of JLF Colorado. Thank you so much, Boli, for all your support every year. Thank you so much. And now it's time to share a special message from a cherished friend and the president of the JLF Colorado board, Johnny Teta, who's not here with us physically right now, but she has sent a video. So can we please have a video, please?
Good morning and welcome to the 10th edition of the Jaipur Literature Festival in Colorado. I'd like to welcome you here to the Boulder Public Library, which has been the platform for the festiveness for the last 10 years. You know, I've always found books to be kind of devious things. I think that may be part of the reason why there's so much energy around banning them these days. For me, books provide a window into another world. They give me an opportunity to walk in someone else's shoes. They encourage me to challenge my thinking, to reassess what I think I know. They let me encounter the unknown and get over the fear of the unknown and create space to engage in dialogue with the other. And that deviousness of books is what's at the core of JLF, the opportunity to broaden our thinking and to engage in conversations around topics that may be uncomfortable. You have a tremendous array of ideas and authors before you over the next 2 days. I wish you the best of experiences, the best of adventures, and I want to thank you for your support for the Jaipur Literature Festival here in Boulder today, in the past, and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. We miss you here, but thank you for all your work and your support. Once again, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all our speakers and artists who have traveled from across the world to be here. I'd also like to extend my deepest gratitude to Jesse Fredman, the founder and former executive director of JLF Colorado. And of course, a huge thank you to our advisors, partners, supporters, volunteers, and sponsors who have dedicated their time, resources, and energy to make the festival possible. Finally, a big shout out to the people of Boulder and Colorado, each one of you, and the broader community whose passion for culture and open-mindedness have made this festival a true celebration of diversity and creativity. Your warmth and hospitality makes the festival truly special. So please give yourself a well-deserved round of applause. Now let us resume this remarkable journey of words, ideas, and imagination. May this festival be a source of enlightenment, inspiration, and lasting memories for all of us. Welcome to the 10th edition of JLF Boulder, Colorado. Thank you, and let the festivities continue.